Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. Guys, you're watching us over on the Comic Book Weekly YouTube channel, and you're also watching us on Comic Book Corner 2.0. Tonight, it's just going to be myself, Mike Spider Slayer from Comic Book Corner 2.0, and it's going to be Kat Comic Uno.
Hey, guys, what is up?
Right.
It's going to be an exciting show for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely always have something to talk about. That's, before we actually went live, Pat and I were discussing, we could actually talk forever because that's just the way we are. And then we're like, okay, we should go live now.
We're like, we will be talking for another hour if we don't go live. And we're having some good conversations about, comic book collecting and stuff. So maybe we'll get into that stuff because there's not that much news this week, which actually transitions us into our news pieces here. One news piece that came out this week was that Venom 2 is changing its release date for the 10th time and making it October 1st now because Shang-Chi did well in the box office. So now they've decided, why not? What was the last date? I don't even remember anymore. Is this that much of a change?
I don't know. I don't think it's too much of a change. I thought it was like late September or something. What's up, Nick? How's it going, bud? But let's just get the movie out, man. I feel like it's just like this Wonder Woman effect that's going on. It's like, let's keep delaying it, or same with like Black Widow. But, hopefully it doesn't get delayed anymore. But it seems like no matter what, people are going to see this movie, COVID or not, because a lot of people did go see Shang-Chi this particular weekend, and it did like 70 million plus this past weekend. I think it did.
Yeah, it did definitely well. I did not have a chance to go see Shang-Chi. I almost did. I was in Boston this weekend for Comic-Con, and we were in between our train and the convention, and we're like, okay, let's get some dinner. And then we got dinner and we looked at the clock. It's like, damn, we almost had enough time to go see Shang-Chi because we had like a little bit of time in between, but it just wasn't enough. So we're like, okay, we can't miss our train, obviously. So I did not get to see Shang-Chi this weekend. I hope to see it at some point. It's just, things have been really busy. Venom is another one. Like October is so crazy for me. I don't know if I'll have a chance to see it in theaters, but I still haven't been to the theaters since COVID. Like I haven't, and not because of I mean, obviously I just haven't been to the theater. Like I've been doing other stuff and I'm vaccinated and all that. But I think the only movie where I'm like, I will have to see opening weekend is Spider-Man. That's the only one I'm seeing where I'm like, I need to see that opening weekend.
I want to really see Venom. I think the closer though that Venom gets to Halloween, it's actually kind of better because it's kind of a creepy, I wouldn't say scary movie, but it's a movie that might be more fitting towards Halloween time. And I did not see Shang-Chi yet myself. I saw Black Widow in the theaters. We almost got to see it, same thing this past weekend, but we just never really got around. There wasn't like a convenient showing. You know what I'm saying? It was like 6:00, and that's not like convenient for me. And, and then we wound up doing some other chores and stuff like that. So yeah, whatever. So. But
yeah, that's what happens with the movies. It's a little tough to go see them, especially because now I feel like the way they're releasing everything is hard to even keep up like what movies are coming out. Like I was like, oh yeah, Shang-Chi's coming out this weekend. Like back in the day, it could be like, oh yeah, I can't wait to Shang-Chi. It's a couple of weeks away. Now it's just like, I don't know, time is still not correct. Nothing, everything's just kind of flying by. There was also that Free Guy movie that Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah, I want to see that. It actually looks good. Yeah.
We got some good stuff from it.
We got some, just want to say hi to the viewers out there. We got Kit Kat Sneak Attack is on, Tevia is on, John Stout's on, Mike Manhattan's on, Jimmy G Comic Guy is on, Tizzy the Great is on. So, and they're making some comments too about Shang-Chi, and then, except Venom isn't a horror movie, but I already pointed that out and stuff like that. But we just want to welcome you guys to the show. Hopefully you enjoy the show today.
Yeah, thank you guys. And thank you for sharing all your movie thoughts as well. So next up, the other media news from this week was kind of silently announced. I think it was like on Instagram, the creators announced it, and it's these newsletter stuff, but Nocterra is becoming a TV show, which is quick for sure. think that's gonna be cool. That's gonna be interesting because
I
it's
think
so
this was
like world
inevitable,
building.
though, something like
Hmm.
this for sure. A lot of people, I think, were specking on this book early on, especially being that Scott Snyder was the writer of it. And then also, like, I felt like a lot of people were thinking that Undiscovered Country was going to be that big book, and it kind of didn't happen. And now you got this, and this is more realistic. So I know a lot of people are going to be all over that #1 issue, and people showing off their multiple variants. And I have every issue so far, so I'm good there at least. But overall, regardless of what happens with the TV show, it's just a good comic book.
Yeah, especially because it is very character driven. I hope they actually build into the characters even more in a TV show, but it's just so interestingly the visuals of it. The visuals are
Mm-hmm.
really interesting. Another
Absolutely.
thing, I guess, for specking, if this is gonna be a big spec book, that Kickstarter book is gonna go for
That's what I
so
was going to
much.
say. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. It will go for a lot. That will be the most valuable one, I think, out of all of them,
yeah,
so because
because
there
it's
was
so
only so
limited.
many. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. I'm
I do
excited
have
about
it.
that.
Yeah, oh for sure. The Kickstarter book is so cool too, because it's not really the comic. It's like it's the script and then like the art, which is really cool.
Oh, yeah,
So,
absolutely. Nick said, glad I got those cover price Scott Snyder signed Nocterra #1s from Midtime a couple of months ago. Yep. Yep. I,
he
I
signs
think
a
that's
lot of stuff. I'm curious if that brings the price down or not. Do you feel like I don't know how Scott Snyder autographs, how much does it raise the price?
Well, it just depends though. Like, so if you were to get your books CGC, right, you have to, has to be proof in order for them to get that yellow label. And sometimes it's hard. That's why they have all these in-house signings CGC has, to where it's like, oh, you have this person, sign your book, and it's actually legit. So it's difficult sometimes when it's pre-signed, and even though there's an authenticity type of thing, it's not always guaranteed that it's an actual real signature. Like I have books signed from Stan Lee, but how does CGC know that? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's
I know
difficult.
they have like the people at Comic Cons and stuff, so they would have to like watch them sign it.
Yeah, exactly. There has to be a witness. So if there was some, like, say Snyder was there, right, and he signed them, and CGC was right there, be like, oh, okay, you know. I know CBCS has a different type of service. I'm not too familiar with it, but it's like they have this thing where they can somehow find out that it is that person's signature. Yeah, it's, and someone just put that on the comments, or send them to CBCS and they'll instantly verify it. So
But then I
it's
feel like
something
that's
about
not
their
worth it as
technology.
much.
Huh?
Oh, is it the technology? Because I was like, oh, like the CGC is a bigger name, so I feel
Yeah.
like that's gonna sell better than a
Yeah.
CBCS.
And from what I know, from what I've heard, CBCS is starting to get more popular because CGC is falling so far behind. They're getting so much stuff sent to them that the turnaround time is taking like 3 to 5 months before you get your books
Wow,
back. So people are kind of getting upset, and they're using the next best thing, which would be CBCS.
it's interesting. So that is all the media news. So we are going to go into some comic news here. We do have some information about the new Venom series that Dylan will be in it, which is cool because it seems like it'll be following a little bit from Donny Cates's run.
Yeah, actually, I think it's kind of cool. So it's going to be following Dylan and making him have um him struggle with the symbiote suit. So it's not going to be, oh, look, the symbiote just, gravitated to me and all of a sudden I can control it. Since it's been through so much, especially with being part of Eddie Brock all this time, he's going to be struggling with the suit. So I find that particular story quite interesting. So I'm really looking forward to that dynamic between those two, different characters. Like you would think, oh yeah, he's just instantly going to be Venom, but I guess it's not as easy as it seems. So I'm kind of interested in that story.
I'm definitely interested in just the new Venom in general and seeing, how it'll be different from the previous series. And, because we had the Defenders book that we both didn't like, I'm curious about what Halloween is going to do for Venom. Just because the only Halloween book I've loved so far is Immortal Hulk. I haven't really been able to get into any of his other series.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. So here's a crazy thing from Jace Traber. He says, "Oh, YouTube didn't notify me of the live stream. How did you find it then when we were already on there?" That's what's frustrating these days, man. I'm telling you, like, I don't know what it is about YouTube not sending out notifications for live streams or making sure people see, their subscriptions getting their bells rung there. And that's why I've been making it a thing for people to say, just make sure when you hit the bell for notifications, make sure it's for all notifications. So go into those settings so it's not like partial or some or hardly ever or none altogether, But going back to Venom, so you're definitely gonna pick it up?
I'm definitely gonna get issue 1 and see what it's all about for sure.
Okay. Yeah,
I can't skip on it. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out. Mike Manhattan says, "Kat, check out Halloween's Ultimates run. It's pretty good." I don't think I read any Ultimates, so maybe I should check it out.
Yeah, I don't think I did either.
Yeah, I remember when it was coming out, it was just like so far into the series, and I was just like, I just care about Spider-Man.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only thing I read
some X-Men.
I think I only read Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man. That was it.
We do have a couple other questions here. The Black Knight says, "You guys care about the trailers that were released today for the new Matrix movie?" I'm going to blow some people's minds. I didn't know that happened. Also, I've never seen the Matrix, so.
Did you not really?
Sorry. I've never
seen it. People might hate me for this,
Yeah.
but I was never the hugest fan of Matrix. Like, I thought it was okay, and I thought the like visual effects were really cool, but I just never was really into it. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the time in my life. Like, I've only ever seen them in the movie theaters, and that's the only time I've ever seen them. They've been on TV, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't want to watch it now.
Yeah, and I feel like now it's like all of it's been spoiled. That's the thing with those classic movies. It's just like, oh, why would I watch it if I know what happens? Because back then it was a big thing, but now, you've been spoiled for it all. We're getting a lot of whats. We got a couple hellos. Hello, Lord Chucks. Oh, and any opinion on the Kid Cosmic show? I don't know what that is. Okay, let's get into some more news here. So this was kind of what we talked about last week, that Jeff Lemire is joining Substack, but now we know that Black Hammer is also going to be part of Substack, which is interesting because that was already part of a previous publisher. And this is the first time I'm hearing about that with Substack. So it goes back to, I'm curious what the publishers are going to do. Is it still going to be physically published? And for people that like Black Hammer, I actually think it's a smart move for Substack, because that's the one thing is like, if you have a fandom attached to a storyline, maybe some people will be more willing to pay those $5 than just a new series they don't know anything about.
But it's his creation, right? So he could take it where he wants.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, for sure.
So, and then maybe he'll release it physically again through Dark Horse after it's been done through Substack, because he's done so much with Black Hammer in general. The universe is ginormous, so I guess he'll just start a new story arc or new characters in the Black Hammer universe and just take it from there.
For sure. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. We still don't have any Substack books out, so nothing to really say there just yet. Next is something that was announced today, which was that Hickman's going to have one last X-Men story, but the twist is that it's going to be on the Marvel Unlimited app. So I guess I won't be reading Hickman's last X-Men story. I haven't had the app in a long time. I don't know why they're doing it. I don't get that at all. Are they even making money off of that then? Or are they just rushing him out? I feel like that's why they don't even want to print it, maybe.
So he's going to do Inferno and then do this one random story in Unlimited?
Supposedly, that's what the article sounds like it's saying.
Maybe it'll come out in print later on, maybe.
Yeah, maybe they'll do. I'm sure it will at some point, but I think it's just probably a random story that he did a while ago, and they just had it left over. And they're like, okay, we'll post it here, I guess. So weird.
We got a question. Figure drawing goes. Substack is basically like Patreon. That's
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah.
It's the same method. So it's like Patreon, except you have to pay a lot more because a lot of times with these Patreons, they're a lot cheaper to get just the general thing. So like I'm a part of very few Patreons, but mostly like YouTube things. So like I like the Try Guys a lot. So I pay like $2 a month to get some Try Guy videos like a little bit beforehand and like some exclusive content. And
Right.
then I'm like part of one or two webtoon Patreons, and they're like $2 to get them a little early. I'm like, okay, I can spend $2, but I can't spend $7 a month. So, but it is like Patreon for sure.
Tevia asks, how's that going to work? Because I thought Marvel Unlimited failed. Marvel Unlimited is not a failure.
No, they're doing well
Yeah.
for themselves.
I mean, you pay that fee and you get anything possible. New comics, and you can get old comics, right? I mean, and the new comics come out, what is it, 3 months now later?
I think it's 3 months, yeah,
Yeah,
or
I
at
think
least
it's
that's
3
what it's
months.
been.
And then you get anything that's ever been published in a library. So anything that you've ever wanted to read. And it's basically a flat fee. I would say like $60 a year or something like that.
60 a
It's
year. And again, at least it was 60 a year.
yeah, I don't know what it is now. That's what I had it for a little while. And honestly, if that is the only way you can read your Marvel comics, I feel that that is worth it.
Well, especially when people, again, it goes back to like the torrenting of comics and stuff like that, where people are like, oh, well, which is definitely granted, like, oh, I can't afford my comics, which again, like, 100% understand that. We live in hard times, but there are ways to make it more, helpful to your budget. And that's one of them. And Comixology has a similar program where you get it just a couple months later, which if you want to read your comics, I think it's totally worth it. And you're still, I think you are really giving your money more towards Marvel. I don't know if the creator really sees that money,
Right.
but at least you're giving your money to something, and I'm hopefully they compensate their creators in some way with that. But yeah, I had Marvel Unlimited for a really long time because Spider Girl back in the day
Mm-hmm.
when it had those last bit of comics, you could only read it on Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah.
So they had like exclusive comics towards it. So I would read it then. But also like back in high school when I was like really, really getting into comics and like looking at like Jessica Jones and Young Avengers, that's the place where I read them all. Like it was if you are just getting into comics, I think it's a perfect investment to have. If
Yeah.
you've already been reading comics for a long time, maybe you don't need it, but I think it's really great a way to look into the library.
I mean, I agree. I mean, think about it. Obviously I spend more than the average person at a comic book store per week. But if you spend $50 to $60 one week at a comic book shop, which is not a hard thing to do these days, right? Look at a subscription to Marvel Unlimited and you'll make your money back very quickly for the entire year. Because again, not only will you read the modern comics, but you also get to read all that history, and there's a lot of history. And if there's ever a series that you would want to read, it's perfect for it, right? As much as I love digging through the old comic books, you don't have to go and dig through those comic books. And if you want to read it right now, you can read it right now. All 130 issues of random Marvel series, right? Or if you wanted to read that Weapon X series or Wolverine or X-Men, it's all there for you to read. And that's what is good about it.
For sure. I'm seeing a lot of interesting comments about Substack versus Kickstarter. And of course, I love talking about Kickstarter, which will plug my Kickstarter later. But, I think that as a comic creator, at least right now, the most lucrative you're going to get is Kickstarter. I think for the audience members, it's really special because you're getting to connect to the creator and really be part of making this comic. And then also for the comic book creator, if you know how to budget correctly and know how to do Kickstarter, it could be a very lucrative way to make comic books. So I'm all on the Kickstarter bandwagon. And also, you don't have to like buy in. It's like pre-ordering a series and you're like forced to like read a series, because with Substack you kind of would be, because you're paying that monthly fee. With Kickstarter, it's a one and done. You know, you just, if you don't like it, you don't have to back up the next Kickstarter, you know? So I personally like the Kickstarter model a little bit more, but that's my opinion. I have a lot of comments here. So one, I'm going to go backwards. James Phelps says, anybody getting the new Oz Kickstarter? I am. David actually was my Newsarama editor for like 3 to 4 years. I had him on my channel actually. So he's a very cool dude. So I am getting Oz, or the OZ, I should say. Let's see what else we got here. I don't like digital either. That's another reason I prefer Kickstarter. You get physical books. Good point as well. I didn't even think about that aspect of it. And then Jay says, do you guys carry a special insurance policy for your comic collections? I didn't even know there was an insurance policy you can get.
You could claim it in your homeowner's insurance if something was to happen. So like last year, there was this huge fire outside of my house. I act like it was outside of my house. It wasn't outside of my house. It was like down the couple blocks, right? And it was this big explosion, this gas explosion that happened and was coming through the ground. And everyone like basically almost had to evacuate their homes because they didn't know how bad it was. So what was the first thing I did? I took pictures of all my boxes of comic books, and I took the key issues that I had, and I have one little binder that I had, the ones that were most expensive. So in case the house got blown up and burnt down, and I at least would have those books that, God forbid, if we needed money, I could sell them. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure. I didn't know you could do that, but now that I know, I keep that in mind. All right, let's go into our main topic now, which is Comixology website closing down for a new Amazon storefront. So yes, we made it a little dramatic in our title. Comixology is not ending. It's just going to look very, very different. It's not going to look like, it's not going to be its own thing anymore. It's going to be very much integrated.
Amazon.
Yeah, it's going to be Amazon. It's going to be like Kindle. So if you have a Kindle and you've ever read digital books from Kindle, that's how it's going to look. So it's going to be like, you have to look up, it's going to be a lot harder to find comics, is I guess the way I should say it. Because usually with Comixology, you have like all the Wednesday releases and everything's kind of there. I think it's going to be more of a hunt because it's now on the Amazon storefront, which is interesting. They're like integrated.
I clicked on it like when I was reading the article, and it takes you right to Amazon page. It's like Amazon, and it's got all the comics on there like it would be when it was Comixology, you know? But yeah, that's what you got to do. So you got to either got to have a Kindle or be a Prime member, I think it is. And so if you are, then you get like 15% off. So look at it as if you're subscribed to your comic shop and they give you 10% off your pull, Amazon will give you 15% if you're Amazon Prime or Kindle person. So I'm a Kindle person. I'm sorry, I'm both. I actually have a Kindle and Amazon Prime member, so I guess I would get 15% off. But it's crazy though, because in the same sense, I mean, we kind of seen this coming, but just Amazon is everywhere and it's everything, and it is frustrating in my opinion.
Monopoly.
Yeah,
you know?
By far.
Yeah. And, it's frustrating that it's also interesting to see that a lot of the physical aspect of comics have changed a lot. So to see the digital aspect of comics changing as well, that's where we all get our digital comics. So it's interesting to see that change. I do think that, we have to look at a positive. The 15% off is not bad. I don't buy digital comics that often, but like if I go on vacation or something, I'll tend to read digitally for that week. So,
but that's where you would buy it though now, because you get that discount, right?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you had to be, I think, an Amazon member to get Comixology for a while though, because it has been connected.
You had to be a member, yeah, but now to be a discount, you have to be, I think, now you got to be part of Amazon Prime. Like you got to be the top tier. So for that best service, you obviously, now you get a discount.
Hey, discounts are definitely good, but again, you go back to like Amazon Prime is the reason why Amazon's done so well is because of the discounts, because it comes to you so quickly. And then it's like, is it good that we're giving all this power to such a big company when, you know, Comixology used to be a mom and pa and all these other places, mom and pas that we can't support now. And that goes into, you know, the comic book stores as well. If more people buy on Comixology because they're getting it cheaper, will they go into the comic book store? And like, what does that mean for comic book stores? So there's always,
Right.
you know, reactions and a domino effect for everything. So I don't know if this is going to be a huge effect, but you know, it's just another ripple in this big comic book industry. Then the next 5 years is going to look really different than the way it looks now.
Yeah,
For
Scott said
sure.
the article I read said they were upgrading the interface, which is correct. They are um, updating the interface, so I guess you can read the comics better. Uh, yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean, it's just another one of those things. Amazon can do whatever they want with it at this point now.
Yeah, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it'll actually bring comics in more hands because if it's integrated into Amazon for
Who
people who are
doesn't have
looking at like
Amazon?
exactly. And who doesn't search your Amazon store to be like, oh my God, let me see like what book I want to read. And then they don't even realize they're reading a graphic novel and they do. And then they really like it. And they're like, oh, I really want to read more Saga. When's that next chapter coming out? And they said, oh, I got to get single issues now. Cool. And they start reading monthly. And that's like how you get into comic books. So again, maybe it's a good thing, at least for the, you know, a different crowd to read comic books, which is what
Mm-hmm.
we're all looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. But there won't be. So the Comixology app is still. Is it not going to exist, or is it going to exist? I don't remember what I read now.
I don't remember either. Let me look at the link for a second and see if I could see if there's any announcement to the app. So let's see.
The
Yeah,
news article though
quickly
was
search.
from Newsarama, right?
It was from the Beat,
Oh,
which is
okay.
a reliable source. It's going to be a different app. So they said they're making a better app.
Oh,
So we'll see how
a,
that
a
looks.
better app.
Better app. That we'll see what that actually means.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, again, as long as there's a place to read your comic books and you pay for them, I guess it's not a bad thing because we want people to pay for the books so books don't go away.
Exactly. We need our books. But that is all the news for this week. So before we jump into the comic books, and we might do a little Q&A after, depending how much time we take for comics. It was kind of a smaller week for us. So if you guys have questions, save them up for the end of the show so we could answer those. But I do have a Kickstarter going on right now, guys. If you want to check it out, I'm going to screen share for 1 second. And not to my dashboard, but it's going to go to my dashboard. That's what a Kickstarter dashboard looks like if you wanted to see. But yeah, Buy Visibility is out on Kickstarter right now, and we're kicking ass. It's doing really, really well. We're up to 646 backers in about a week. Over $15,000, and obviously the book is actually one thing I can show you guys. I'm going to keep this up, but I actually got the book. So after I take this away, I can show you guys the physical book because I actually got it from the printer already. So that's really cool. But it's a bisexual anthology, but there's all different ranges of stories, and there's like fantasy stories, romance. Yes, it's about bisexuality, but I think there's any stories you can really enjoy here if you enjoy the short story format. I'm going to step away for a second so I can show you guys the book. I know exactly where it is. So I'm going to be 1 second. Hold on.
All right.
As Mike entertains you.
Yeah, let's know, guys. Let's get some entertainment going in here now. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. We actually we're going to do a topic after Kat shows her book about our comic collections, about what we're going to do with them. So she's back. So
I am back.
she's
So
coming.
what's really cool is that the book is here. So I was going to do like a whole entire pictures for next week on social media. This is what the book looks like. It's here. It's kind of inside.
Oh, nice.
Inside of the book here is part of my story. That's some of the artwork. So it's really nice quality. All different stories here.
Looks good.
All different styles of art. Really, really happy with how it came out. Brant did design for the outside. We
Nice.
also have trading cards. This is one of the hollow trading cards we
Oh,
have.
sweet.
Yeah, this is really awesome. So yeah, hopefully you guys could go check it out. It's here. It's real. You guys will be getting it right after the Kickstarter is over. It's literally here. So, because I think that's a big worry for people with Kickstarters. Like, oh, I don't know if I'll get it. I'll get it like 2 years from now. It's like, no, guys, you'll get the
You'll get it.
Kickstarter books right after you're done. It's all here. But yeah, thank you guys for, hopefully you guys can go check it out. I'll send the link one more time, but we will definitely would love to talk about some comic collecting, and we have, which is really cool. But we'll start with our comics for this week and get through those.
All right. So let's kick it off with what are we at? The big books. I forgot because we don't do under the radar anymore, right?
We're just flying into the big books.
Yeah. Now my computer's acting up. So hold on. Okay. All right. So big books. We'll do a couple books. Then I'm going to talk about some comic collecting. We'll do that. All right. Let's talk about Batman Fear State Alpha issue 1. I didn't like this book just because I thought this book was an actual like recap of everything that you already read. So this is really geared more towards new readers. It didn't really do anything for the story. The only thing you got to see was like this dark or evil version of Poison Ivy. And she's like separated from herself. She's like missing a piece from herself. And it's all leads up to basically Future State, because this is the point where it was like Batman's gone missing. Where's Batman? And then you get to see Chase, like, right? That's his name, Chase.
Oh God, you know better than I do. I just think about them all as like, oh, that guy
he is now. He goes and gets that bat suit, and he's like, oh, I'm going to be the next Batman because Bruce is dead. So we basically get up to the point of where Future State's at this point. So I don't know. I didn't like this book very much, and I'm only going to be reading whatever DC books that I currently read. And of course, it covers Fear State, so that's what I'll read. But I'm not going out of my way to read any of these.
Yeah, no, I will just pick up the books I already have, like Nightwing. I'll be getting that. So I'll definitely be getting that. But yeah, going back to the actual story, I agree. I just feel like because James is leaving, you could kind of feel that he was leaving with this. Like, all right, let's just get this wrapped up. And the only parts I really enjoyed, like, I do think the issue picked up a little with like the Poison Ivy stuff. And once you got like with the Bat family, but the whole beginning was so boring with the villains. I just couldn't care less.
It's like the whole recap's like Scarecrow talking with Saint. It's like, oh, I want my deal. Make me get credit for that. I don't care. Really don't. So it's like, it's so boring. And Nick said Fear State was like in issue 0. That's why it's called Alpha, right? Because it's kicking off the event. So I don't know.
Either way, an issue 0 should excite you. You know?
Yeah.
Even the artwork wasn't as strong as the book usually is.
I just feel like we've been going on so long with Magistrate, Future State, all those things. I want something different. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, yeah, it picks up.
We can only hope. Again, I'll be getting Batman. That's about it. I'll get Batman. I'll get my Nightwing. I'll get my Robins. But I haven't been excited for this event. And looking back, I don't think this book has been as good since the Joker War. I feel like that's when the book was at its best, and then everything fizzled, and it just hasn't been as strong. We do have a couple of comments here, so I'm going to read them. Some about the Kickstarter book, so thank you guys. OMG, it's pretty. Thank you very much. I love the color. Thank you. Jay says, sweet, how exciting for you, Kat. I need to get over and go to the Kickstarter and sign up. I agree. Very much agree with that. Figure drawing, Kat, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And then how many pages is it? It's 44 pages, so definitely a good chunk here. And then we had another question, I think, from Tizzy about Under the Radar. Before I go to that, James did ask, do you autograph the issues? Every single issue is autographed by me and should be autographed by Phil, who's the assistant editor as well. And then Tizzy asks, why no Under the Radar anymore? Mike, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, we don't do Under the Radar anymore just because obviously we're trying to shorten the show just a little bit, not because we don't love talking about comics, but just for the podcast portion of this show, we don't want it to be as long. And as it gets later, we notice that viewers like tend to dip out. So we try to keep the show a little bit shorter and maybe to talk about other things as well. And then we don't want to be repetitive as well, where we talk about the same books over and over again. So like Under the Radar could be, say Batman Fear State Alpha, where it's like, oh, no one's talking about it, everyone hate it. And then 10 minutes later, it's like my number 4. So we kind of want to avoid being repetitive about certain things.
Yeah, we had Under the Radar when Michael was on the show, and that was the reason why we did it. It was his section. We wanted him to have a section. And then I would also say before COVID, our pull lists were a lot longer, like they were a lot bigger. So there was more options for an Under the Radar. But now we just, kind of read the stuff that we read. So we just never, a lot of times we could figure out an Under the Radar book where we weren't talking about in our top 5 or it wasn't in the big books. So it just felt like more of a struggle than something that was helping the show. But that doesn't mean we're not talking about books that are under the radar, because we have our top 5 books, which a lot of the times there's books that no one has heard of.
Right. So basically, if we say that this book is our number 4, this would be definitely an Under the Radar book. Like we'll still mention it. So
for sure.
All right, let's talk about a really good book, I hope, for Kat. This one was Dark Ages issue 1. This was Tom Taylor's book that was supposed to come out last year for Marvel. And this one, for me, was amazing. I really enjoyed this book. This was what Tom Taylor does best, is do these Elseworld types of stories. And it was similar to Deceased in the beginning, because you wind up getting this, this robot that's coming from the center of the earth to come out of Earth to destroy the galaxy, the universe, everything around it. And we just get to see all hell break loose with a strike force team that basically gets decimated. Doctor Strange casts this spell to defeat this creature. And then lo and behold, we wind up getting the Age of Darkness because of this spell, because he did not have time to reverse it because he died, right? So the introductory issue to this, before we even get to the Dark Ages, was absolutely amazing. I loved it. I love the family dynamic between Peter, May, and Mary Jane. And we got to see that Luke Cage is in this book. Jessica Jones was in this book. And it was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this book a lot.
I don't want to say I was pleasantly surprised, because like you said, it's Tom Taylor. So why would I be pleasantly surprised? He always comes out with really good books, but this seemed like something like, do we need an Elseworld book? Do we need an event styled book? And this is exactly how I want an Elseworld book and an event book to be. An event book should be character moments. It should make it also, it should feel big. It should feel like all these characters should be here for a reason, and it felt big. I had the character moments, I had fun moments, but also there was death, there was consequences. And because it's an Elseworld story, there can be death and consequences, and they could stay there. I just thought it was such a brilliantly written book, and I can't wait for more. It was just so freaking good. And also, at least for me and Mike, I'm sure there was just a lot of characters that we particularly like. Like, we love the Spider-Man family, so there's something to like there. Laura shows up, the Runaways show up. But at the same time, that's something that was brilliant about this book, is that it felt like the D-listers were there, and then, the A-listers were there. So it made it feel like a world-shaking event, which was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so cool. Really enjoyed that. There were so many cool moments in there where you're just like, oh man, like Scarlet Witch's death, like right in front of Vision. Ben Grimm dies in front of Sue. Like, there are deaths that you don't see coming, but they're very impactful because they happen to the members that are closest to them, right? And it's like, oh man. And then I love how Tom Taylor sits there and just says, you know what? We haven't seen Laura in how long? And so we're going to throw her in there. I'm going to put Honey Badger in there too. I loved when he put those two in there. I thought that was awesome. So
a lot of people are asking about the Elseworld aspect to it. I mean, we can only assume it's an Elseworld just because of the.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's in the world that was part of what was that event called with all the worlds crashing? Was it Secret something?
Secret
I don't
Wars.
remember. Was it Secret Wars?
Yeah, it
Was that
was Secret Wars.
it was
Yeah.
actually called Secret
They had
Wars? I'm
all
like,
these
was it?
incursions and then it led into the Secret Wars. Yeah, I definitely think this is a Elseworld type of story where yes, you can do whatever it is that you want to do. And those stories are fine. You know, I really enjoy this. Like Marvel Zombies, it's a Elseworld type of tale, you know. And those are the ones that you also can't take too seriously, right? Those are the ones where it was just like, I'm not going to go into this with any expectations. You take it for what it is. And, you know, some writer out there can be like, whatever. I could, who cares, right? But not Tom Taylor. I feel like he puts everything he can into something, even though it's something that might not mean anything in the future, right? Yeah, so good, man. Loved
But
it.
look at Injustice. That was kind of the same thing. Like,
Yeah,
does that matter to the continuity? No. But did it make brilliant stories? Yes. You have a whole
absolutely.
animated film that I'm sure is going to embrace some of those storylines. We have, yeah, we have so much. So
It was based
it's
off a
really cool.
video game. They made multiple volumes from it. It was so highly successful. I mean, really, that's what put Tom Taylor on the map is that series, the Injustice series.
For sure. And that's why he's just working on every cool book imaginable. But yeah, very good book. Please get this. This is some of Marvel's best event books, you know. But I honestly, like, looking back, I did look like books like King in Black, because I was like, I was comparing it to King in Black, because I think something that King in Black did very well was that it felt like the whole world was being affected and everyone was teaming up. But I feel like this did a little better in the character moments section, because it really is like, oh my god, this is a character driven
Well,
book.
that's his strong suit. He knows
Yeah.
how to tap into those characters' emotions, right? All right, let's take a break from these comics real quick before we get to number 5. And so Kat and I were talking about comic book collections, right? Kat and I both been collecting for a very long time. I've been collecting like mads since 2007. That's basically when I got back into collecting comic books after taking probably a good 7-year break, right? I collected up until 1999. So I guess 8 years. So I've accumulated so many comic books over the years that me and Kat were talking, and she has a lot too. And it looks like that I'm probably going to sell a lot of my comics. I'm probably obviously going to hold on to higher priced issues, key issues, variants, stuff like that. But what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to sell runs of comics, story arcs of comics, things like that. And I want to get some advice from you guys on what do you think might be the best course of me selling my comic books. You know, I don't know if I want to go that eBay route. I was kind of thinking of doing a thing on YouTube where I'm just going to be announcing these runs for sale. And if you're interested, message me, email me, and we can talk and I can sell you these through the mail. Again, just leave me in the comments here, guys, while we're talking. And I'm curious, Kat, what are you thinking about doing with your comics?
See, I love the YouTube idea. I think that's such a great way to bring community together and like to make sure the comics are going to a person that really wants it and really likes
Right.
it. Because a lot of times with the eBay and Amazon stuff, they're just there to sell it again and
Right.
to make money off of it. So I think with the YouTube thing, you kind of build a community and you're like, oh, this person actually wants the comic because they literally went on a comic book YouTube show to buy it. So they must be, you know, familiar with comics in some way. Honestly, an idea I had, and I think I have too many books of my own to sell to do this, but I always thought it'd be cool when I go to comic conventions to have like a little small, like, you know, a short box where I had a couple of books where it'd be like, buy one of my books, you could like pick 3 of your own choosing or pick 2 of your own choosing from my collection. Like, it's like, oh, you know, it helps sell my book, but then at the same time, it might get people into comics, or like, I see a kid, they can have a comic, you know, just to get any people into comics. Or, you know, I have so many. There's definitely some I would love to give away in a way that is useful for people just to get into comics. I would love to do that there's a way to do it, I'll do it. But also, like, obviously I want to sell some of the books too, make some money off of it.
Right.
So yeah, I think I've been thinking about it a lot. I still don't know what the answer is either. I think that, hey, maybe me and Mike will collab one day and we could like sell our books on one show and just get something going.
Just do like a live stream of Comic Book Weekly of us selling books, just the entire show. Right.
That'd be so much fun for sure.
No, that's
like
a good
just
idea
get some
actually
out.
one day. I Tevia said, well, why don't you you need to keep them. I can't keep everything. Like, I'm going to run out of room. That's the thing. And I still want to collect, right? So I don't need to keep things that, say, are not valuable to me or have any, let's say, personal attachment to, right? There's going to be some comic books that I'll always keep because they remind me of something or a point in my life or something like that, like your first comic book that you ever read, right? So, but there's runs that I could give a crap about, but however, someone else might enjoy that story. So if I wrapped it all up and said, here's 25 issues of Flash, just throwing a name out there, right? All for yours for like $20. Here you go. Right. So not only am I making some of my money back, but I'm giving it to somebody who wants it. And then I'm making space in my garage. So you know what? So I can buy more stuff.
Yeah, that's the point, is like, we're not selling comics, say, oh, we're getting out of the, collecting. By far not. It's just to get books that we particularly like and that we want to be part of the collection. Because we've read books where, especially for me, like I've read a book where I'm like, it's 3 issues in and I didn't quite like it. Those are the books I also would like to sell, where I'm like, I don't even have the full run and I just, there's no value for it to be in my collection, but maybe there's someone who needs those 3 issues somewhere along the line. So, especially some issue 1s as well. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm trying to dwindle that collection, is more books that I know I'll never read again because I didn't like it the first time I read it.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you guys won't like it. I'm not,
Right.
There's definitely books that just weren't my taste, but is, utmost, like, it's so funny because some people were talking about A Nice House on the Lake, where people have been loving that book, right? They love it. I dropped that book. I would never sell issue 1. I will never sell my books of A Nice House on the Lake because it's going to most likely be a TV show. Don't sell any of your James Tynion books. But just the point being is that there is books that I might not like, but be the best seller to other people.
Yeah, I agree. There's some comics here saying like, don't sell your Amazing or don't sell your X-Men. See, of course, like, I'm never going to sell my Amazing Spider-Man collection. That is a collection that I have collected since I started collecting comic books, since I started reading, since issue 313. And then I've had to go back, obviously, to collect some of the older issues. But I have been buying Spider-Man monthly ever since then. And, some issues I have lost or have gotten damaged over the years. But I have collected Spider-Man ever since then. And I will never, as much as I hate Nick Spencer's run, I will never get rid of that continuous run. It's an achievement for me to collect that, right? And I can almost say the same thing for Savage Dragon. No one reads Savage Dragon. No one can give a shit about it. But you know what? I have almost every single issue of it, and I'm proud of that achievement of it, So it's all the other stuff that I'm like, oh, let me try this. And I have the first 6 issues and it's just like, and it's just sitting there. Or I have a random 5 issues of something. And again, maybe somebody might have that. Or again, I think from the New 52 run, I did sell the Flash run. Or I gave it to one of my friend's kids because he was a huge Flash fan. And I gave him the entire run. I have an omnibus of it. So I'm not worried about it. I can read it whenever I want. But I was just happy that that I could give it to somebody that would really enjoy it,
Yeah, and that's definitely the point. And I think that's, if I do, because I don't think I've ever really sold any of my comics. Like I've have everything that I've ever had. Tissy just asked that, do you guys still have New 52 run? Yeah, I have literally every book I've ever bought is in my long boxes. So again, that's why I'm in this predicament where I'm like, okay, maybe you could kind of dwindle this down. Because me and Mike were talking about like, oh, I don't really want to put in a storage unit. because it's just like then it doesn't feel worth it. You know, it doesn't feel like
Yeah.
I can't go back and read those. So yeah, I definitely like to dwindle it down in some way. See if you guys like auctions, maybe one of these days me and
Yeah.
Mike will figure it out.
Yeah, you guys put on, maybe I should do something on my Facebook page. That's a good idea.
Mhm.
I don't know. We'll come up with something. I do like the show idea. I really do like that idea where we could go
That'd
out
be
there and
cool.
just, I'm not saying do auctions, but maybe we can just show off, books that we're actually selling. Like I got the whole run of like my Alex Ross variant covers right here. Would I sell that? I don't know. I don't think so. But I'm just making again another example. But yeah, so that's what happens, man. You collect comics, you love those physical books, but you run out of space. You can't keep everything, but you do want to keep those books that are worth something. So I have a special box for those ones.
I have everything in alphabetical order, so it's just like everything's mixed into everything else. So I gotta start doing that.
Oh,
What's happening with
yeah.
Comixology? You go back a couple of minutes ago, Mark, and you'll find out what happened with Comixology.
My comic books, I was telling you before the show, during tennis summer camp, I did not have a chance to put away my weekly books, and it quickly piled up in those 12 weeks. I did not put away a single book. I had books over there in my bedroom, just all over the place. In the past couple of weeks, I've been putting my books away slowly. The only thing I have left is like my dollar bin books, and I have my DC comics, and maybe some like classic issues that I got put away, and I'll be caught up. I cannot wait, man. It has been such a chore separating these books, but it's good when it's done. I mean, I got all my independents. I got some strong independent runs right now, like Nocterra, Stray Dogs, like Geiger's another popular one right now for a lot. And it's just, it's coming together nicely. So I'm excited to have it organized again.
I wish I knew how that felt. I'm getting there though. I'm definitely getting there. Let's see what other comments are here. I've donated a lot of my post 2000 books, and then that went up. Then have been concentrating on picking up back issues from the 70s and 80s. I mean, whatever makes your collection look cool and make you feel good about your collection. Michael Thomas says, "Hey guys, I've been collecting for 3 years. Watching your videos has helped me a lot, and thank you. Thank you very much. We really, really appreciate that. We also have a super chat. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Hello. So how do you feel about comics in 2021 with Substack and with the recent news? I don't know. For me, I feel like there's a creator exodus in the big two. I think we're going to get a lot of new superstars, if I'm being honest. And I
Yeah.
think we're going to get a lot more readers in comics. I think this industry is going to be a lot bigger, which I'm really excited for.
Absolutely. I mean, when one door closes, another one opens. This just opens up the door for a lot of new creators out there, right? Uh, shit. What happens if they got a hold of Kat, right? Opens up the door for her, and they said, "Kat, you want to work over here at Marvel?" And be like, "Only if I get my say on what book I want to write." And it's like anything. We just need somebody. We need someone desperate. Show us what you can do. I can write you a May Parker. And that's
There
what
you
she would
go.
do, right?
I
And so that's
definitely
what she
would.
do. And same with Brant. Brant's he has his own publishing company, and he's got Last Ember, and he's got all the other titles under his belt there. It just opens up for any of these creators, these Kickstarters, any of these guys out here. So yes, we're used to the Hickmans, we're used to the Lemire's, we're used to everybody else, but everybody in this world, we say it all the time, is replaceable. So there's always new talent out there, guys. So don't, hang your heads down low because they go somewhere else. And it's not a permanent thing. It's not going to be. They're going to come back. Everybody comes back eventually.
And they're doing it for the right of creators being paid more. If we're all being honest, it's just them saying, "Oh, I could, possibly make money and like get the money I deserve." And I applaud them for doing this, and to get that money they deserve that they worked hard for. So I don't think that's a bad thing, and I hope that helps the industry in some regard as well to show that comic book making could be a living, because for a lot of people it's really hard make a living out of comics. So,
Sure.
you know, I think that's a big part of it all too. So I really only see a positive, even if it's going to look very different.
Absolutely. Noodle Meat 1490 says, I'm going to buy the whole Superior Spider-Man run floppy this Friday. So hype. Man, goal for 2021 is done. Wow, that's pretty cool, man, getting the whole run in floppy. Listen, Superior Spider-Man is interesting in its own way. It's different. Dan Slott did something with the character that no one expected. And it has its ups and it has its downs. But looking back on it, you know, if I reread it again, I probably would enjoy it the second time around. At first, I was like very bitter because my Peter Parker was gone. But as time went along, I actually learned to enjoy that series.
I think it definitely, you know, what I liked is that it did something different and it got people, a lot of people got into comics because of Superior Spider-Man, for sure. Because it made news and we're like, oh, I got to see what this Dr. Octopus thing was about. And honestly gave some really good stories with the ending of Dan Slott's run, I thought was really good. So, yeah, I thought it was interesting. Not all of it was my favorite part, but I think it was a necessary thing because, you know, comics can get a little stale after seeing the same thing over and over again. You do need to see some different stuff going on. Why is it hard to get money in the comic book industry? Because these companies won't pay the creators as much as they're making. You know, they're
trying
paycheck
to be
looks a lot
profitable,
different.
so they're being cheap.
Yeah.
Yes, that's basically what it is.
For sure. That's the big point.
Kat, you had a question. It says, will the physical copy of Buy Visibility be shipped via USPS?
Yes, it will be. So it will be in the Gemini mailers that we all know and love through USPS.
All right.
So thank you for that. Yeah. So this was a really fun conversation
Yeah,
about
that was
comics.
a great conversation.
Sure.
But hopefully
Yeah.
you guys will be there for when we actually sell our books.
Hopefully do
when we
something.
have that show. When we sell that show. When we do that show, I think we're gonna do it.
I think so too.
Kat,
I think it'll be really fun.
Kat, start getting together some books and we can make a night of it.
Yeah, I'm already packing a lot of my books, so I will 100% look through my bundle there and see what I got.
Yeah, I'm sure I got some variants. I don't think I have any extra copies of Stray Dogs though. I don't have that. I do have. I might have some free comic book day ones though to give away. So we'll see. That'll be cool. I think it'll be a lot of fun. All right, so let's get back to let's get back to the comic books. You guys keep the questions going. We'll answer as we go along. So we got to give our number 5. What was your number 5 for the week?
My number 5 was it was Static Shock, season 3, issue 3. Okay. Yeah. The beginning was a little slow for me. I was like, okay. It was mostly the villains. It was, I forget the villain's name, Hot Streak, I think. And then we actually got to the friends and we got to that they know he has powers, which makes it a little more interesting, not more interesting, but different from the show. So we get a little dynamic from the friends. We get some really good moments between Virgil and his dad. So I liked it. I thought it was a pretty solid issue, and I'm curious to see where the series ends up going.
Cool. All right, my number 5 was Captain Marvel issue 32. It's kind of cool because I did not read previous issues of the series just because I was busy with work. And so this was the perfect jumping on point because it starts a new story arc and it goes back to a villain that was visited. What was it? That Vox character or whatever person that was?
I forget. It was all I know it's the dark Captain Marvel suit. I don't remember who was behind that.
It's the suit that he created. Yeah. That takes over Captain Marvel, that made her evil, that started killing everybody. Well, now there was somebody else. There was someone else, another Captain Marvel from the Guardians of the Galaxy that wound up getting possessed by the suit. Carol and her were fighting each other. They wound up finding out who that person was. And now there's a whole bunch of other suits taking over all these other Captain Marvels. And it looks like she's teaming up with Kamala at the end too, which was kind of cool. So this was good enough. I don't say it took quite a while to get to the point, but nevertheless, it still was good enough to get me back on board with this issue or with this series again.
That was definitely my thoughts on getting to the point. It took definitely it was a lot of action, but then you got to the end, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be cool because you get to see those people attacking Kamala. So and the art was really good for it. It was honestly it was just a pretty good part one, and I think it's like has a promise to be a really solid arc, especially bringing all these Captain Marvels involved. And overall, I really like this run. I'm not the biggest Captain Marvel fan, at least from a solo series. There's been very few that I've liked besides like Life of Captain Marvel. So it's really nice that Kelly Thompson's given us a pretty solid run for so many issues as well, because it's it's been a long time that she's been on the series.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got a question from Steve. He says, "What are your thoughts on CGC versus CBCS?" And then we get the question below. I think these guys are more of readers in spec books and sending them in to be in case. So correct on that. Not that I don't want some of my comics to get graded. I do actually have a selection of books to do it. However, it is pricey. It does take time, and I still haven't done any yet. I've only a couple that I have is right here that I've actually bought at my store for a very reasonable price. I bought this book for $40. It's a $300 book, at least graded.
Wow.
And I got this book for like $20. And you know what it costs to get a book graded from CGC anyway. It's not worth that much. It's freaking Brand New Day, Amazing Spider-Man. So, and I have one Captain Marvel up there. So I do want to get books graded. It's just a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? And
time.
Yeah. And it's going to be like really important issues that I want to get graded, But speaking of it, I personally like CGC much better.
I think it's a name.
I feel like it's just a better quality product because I actually have a CBCS slab as well. And the casing is not as good. And it's just, I don't know. I just like it better. I just feel like it's a better quality product in my opinion. But I'm not the professional. I don't get a lot of books graded. I don't get any books graded as of right now. But I just like the way this looks better, man. I think it looks cool. So
yeah, I have a few CGC, but mostly like what I bought at conventions. Like I bought it myself. Like I didn't go to CGC and get it done. But if I was gonna get some CGC, like I'd get like Edge of Spider-Verse issue 2, just because that's Spider-Gwen's first appearance and something that means something to me. I would get like maybe Rainbow's Runaways issue 1, Immortal Hulk issue 1, things like that, that are more recent books. But at the same time, there's so many people that are probably CGC'd all those. So it's like, is it even worth it? But we'll see.
yeah.
We'll see.
I mean,
comes.
I have the first appearance of Miles Morales. I have that
Same,
book.
I have that.
So we know how much that book is. I want to get that graded. Spider-Gwen, I got the first appearance of that. There's a lot of good books I have. Amazing Spider-Man 300. I want to get that graded. So there's a lot of stuff there. But again, I like their labeling. They got the option now to get labels where you could get like the comic book character that's on there right on the top, which is pretty neat. So I just think it's just a better looking product. So,
But you are correct about the readers. That's why one thing we like about our show is, and it seems like other people like, is yes, we'll talk about industry stuff, and we actually talk about comic book industry a lot because of me and Brant, and also Micah's course. But we try to make it about the stories. That's definitely a big part of the show.
Absolutely. I think we're always the people that go after the stories. That's why we do our show based off of the stories. And then if these books are worth more or they have value in the future, then that's a plus. We buy so many books. It's in our favor, though, that a book is going to be worth something because we buy a lot each week,
Oh, for sure. And that's kind of fun too. But we're not gonna pretend like we're Comic Tom, right? We're not gonna pretend like we're we're that, because we offer a different service to the show, which definitely is something I think we all enjoy.
Right. They do top 10 hot comics of the week based off of spec, and I do top 10 comic books based off of story. So
exactly,
definitely something completely different. But that's what our channels have always been about since we started YouTube. So we've been around a long time. All right. So let's move forward now and let's talk about Sinister War issue 4. So Nick Spencer's run has basically been about Boomerang this whole entire time because his plan was to kill the character off. That's what I got out of this book, right?
Yeah, so they're killing him off. It looks like that happened in this issue. That's been fun.
And then you got
I
I was going to say Superior Spider-Man. I was going to say Doc Ock, who winds up saving Peter from everybody else because he came up with his contraction to, I guess, kill all the little centipedes in their ears. So that's how the big fight stops. And Doc Ock lets Spider-Man go. So that's what happened.
which was just, it lasted what? Not even an issue. I feel like it was off panel that Kindred was controlling Dr. Octopus. And then they're like, it's fine. Dr. Octopus is now not controlled by him. It just, what I hate about this book is all it is just action, and it's mindless action. It doesn't really feel like there's much of a plot. Even the Boomerang thing that happened kind of felt rushed. It's like, wait, what? He's dead now? What?
It just happened. Like, it was just like, I'm being sucked, my soul's being sucked out by Moreland, and here comes Boomerang. And then in 2 panels, he's dead. There was no emotional impact towards the death, right? It was just and then you, like, when you close the book, you got to think about it and sit there and go, and this is how I came up with that statement. Boomerang's been in this title the entire time. Kindred has been in this book the entire time. So Spencer's end game here was to kill off Boomerang and kind of give him a swan song. That's basically what it was. I don't know why, but he should have gave him a more emotional death instead of just throwing himself in there and then being, he's dead, you killed him. And it's like, okay.
Because it's interesting because you think back at Dan Slott's ending, right, of his run, which was to kill off Flash. And it was so emotional, and we all cried. It was such a good freaking story. And then you have something like this, which literally is doing the same thing, supporting character that used to be a villain. And this one's just again, it kind of felt off panel the way they killed him off. So didn't like this issue. I saw a preview of the next issue. I'm a little concerned.
I'm not. I didn't see any preview.
I'm not going to say anything.
You got to think, because it's Spider-Man in the next one, right? That it's taking place. Because
I don't even know when it ends. Yeah, Sinister War is over. I forget what issue it ends. We're getting very close to the
75 is the one that has MJ and Peter on the cover.
Okay, so we are up to, I'm looking at my
73.
73. So we have 2 more after this. Great.
I don't know, man. Sinister War, it's such a drawn out event, and it was something that I totally thought it was not going to be about Kindred. It was literally going to be about the Sinister 6 characters, and that there was going to be a real plot involved, and it wasn't. And that's what made it a disappointment for me.
I agree. We do have a couple of comments here. So I'm going to read Tizzy's first. I love this show because it's positive. A lot of people always say something negative all the time on different comics/movies. Even when you guys don't like something, you find something positive. Thank you, Tizzy. We really appreciate
that. That's awesome.
That means a lot to us. We really try. And then we had a question from Michael Thomas. I have the whole run of The Preacher. It's 67 comics. Do you think it's something that I should hang on to? The first 3 comics are graded. Of the first 3 comics or graded. So I will say that, grade it if you can. That's something you should do. But the show has already been out. So I feel like, it's at its highest price already. Right. So if you don't want,
it's not going to get any higher.
Yeah. So I think you should give it away if you want to.
I would look and see how much it's worth, right? See how much that first issue is worth. And if it's not worth that much and you're willing to part with it, then you might get some decent money. If if you sit there and you grade that, if you have those first couple issues graded, and then or you don't have any of it graded, but you want to sell the entire run and you have issue 1, you might get some good money. It just depends what you want to do with it. It's tough. It is a hard decision, but I don't think
Don't
it's
want to
going to be
let
worth
go.
that much more money.
No, you kind of left the train once the show, because the show is always going to be like The Walking Dead, right? That's never going to be more than it was when the show was popular.
Right. I mean, Walking Dead will always have its own tier because it just hit this monumental height. And so it took the
Also had
world
less
by
issues.
it took the world by storm, and it has so many different characters and a huge world. So it has its key issues in itself. And I don't know if Preacher hits that same level. I could be wrong,
I think issue 1 you could get a lot of money for.
Right. All right, let's go forward now. Let's talk about we're not going to talk about it. Red Sonja, I'll just touch on it real quick because Brant was going to talk about it. I thought it was an okay issue. I don't think it was the best issue. It was just Red Sonja basically picking up rescuing this kid, and this kid thought that Red Sonja was its mother. So I thought that was kind of cool. And this kid has its own powers. So it was an interesting book. I might give the second issue a try to see where it goes from there. So let's go on to number 4. What was your number 4, Kat?
I actually wanted to answer this question from Tevia, and then I'll go. How would you end Peter and MJ story? I actually kind of want to answer the last part and have Miles Morales take over the Spider-Man book. That would have been smarter than Ben Reilly. They made Miles Morales take over.
I
that's
agree with
the reason
you.
I wanted to answer that, because I'm like, man, that would have been a much better story.
Yeah, like,
I mean,
why
we haven't
Ben
seen Ben
Reilly?
yet, but
Why Ben Reilly when you have a Spider-Man in the universe right now that's really struggling to capture fans in the comic book universe? I don't think it's a struggle that people like him in the movie universe, but they're struggling to like his book in the Marvel universe. At least I am anyway.
at least the current book for sure.
Yeah. Previous books have been phenomenal. I think the character is phenomenal. I think it was a great idea to have him. It was a great character to have in the Ultimate Universe. But in 616, it's just he's struggling to, I feel like, find his own identity. I feel like he's struggling to find like a main enemy to fight. Like, you're trying to separate him, but he's a Spider-Man character, right? And people are always going to compare him to the original Spider-Man. So how cool would it be for him to gain respect in the city and all his peers around him if he took over for Spider-Man? That would have been a great idea. Yeah, you're definitely right about that.
Yeah, that would actually excite me. Like the Ben Reilly story, the only reason I'm like semi-excited is just because of, Kelly Thompson. That's really the only reason. I'm like, oh, okay, and obviously just a different point of view. That would have been really cool. And then also like thinking about one of my favorite movies of all time, Into the Spider-Verse, like why that was so successful, right? Like, because Miles Morales was kind of taking over the mantle. So that would be really, really cool. And also why Miles Morales was so popular in the first place in the Ultimate Universe is that he took over the mantle of Spider-Man. So that would be really awesome. We do have another super chat. Thank you so much. How do you feel about Ahmed's run on Miles Morales overall? I think it's pretty decent, way better than Miss Marvel's run. Well, the Miss Marvel run I really didn't like. But I also didn't like the Miles Morales run. I didn't really like either of them.
Right. Yeah. I have tried Miles Morales multiple times,
Mm-hmm.
and I just can't get into it. I read the most recent Clone Saga, and I don't know, man. It was rough for me, and I'm still going to read the next issue after that as well, because it's a book that I want to like so much, but yet I struggle getting into it. I don't like him as a writer. I don't know if I don't like him of what he's doing with the character. But I really struggle with it. I just find his book pointless right now.
Yeah, I miss the days where, this was so many years ago, but we've been doing this show for a very long time. But when Ultimate Miles Morales was coming out with Bendis, literally every single time it was all of our number ones.
My God,
and Miles Morales, was so good. And every arc had a nice twist. Like when the mom died, the Venom arc is one of my favorites of all time. The way they married it to the old Ultimate stuff was just so, so good.
The whole Green
Miss those
Goblin
days.
story when Peter died.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
I mean, that was when Bendis was at his peak right there,
Mm-hmm.
because he really put character emotion in that book, in that series. And, with him and Mary Jane, like driving off in the sunset, and there was just all these different characters. Like, I loved how you had, what was her name? Bombshell was in there, right? And then we wound up getting to meet
Jessica
her.
Drew.
Yeah, Jessica Drew was in there as well. There was all these great characters. The supporting cast was so much fun. And that's what lacks. You had Genki in there, and he was cool there. And somehow out of all the other ones, he's the only one that goes with him in this universe. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to see how things could definitely change. But going into my number 4, that was a little bit of a sidetrack. But my number 4 was Wonder Girl issue 3. This is just such a fun issue. It actually didn't have much Yara in it, but the Yara stuff that were in it, it was like blending, her new mythology, what she's learning to like this, she's a regular girl, I don't think she's dating this guy, or at least interested in this guy. And then the thing that really made it was Artemis and Cassie, just how different they are in their own mission. And this is the only Wonder Woman book I ever felt that it was everything about Wonder Woman. Even though Diana's not in it, it feels like the Wonder Woman family, which I feel like has been really missing from any Wonder Woman book in the past 10 years.
Yeah, this was a good book. I really liked those two dynamic. The character interactions they had with each other was awesome. And together they would work well together, because again, she, Artemis is the strength and Cassie is the smarts, and they're kind of forced to work together with each other in this book. Artwork, as always, is absolutely amazing. I don't know what it is. I'm just in love with the artwork in this book. It's just so mesmerizing to me. I love to look at every panel, every character, facial feature. Just the line work in this book is so well done. The inks really pop with the characters, but it's not overdone. It's so good, man. I really enjoy this.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of DC's best books out there. And guess what? It's not a Batman book.
Yeah, that's right. So that was what, your number 4, you said?
Yeah, that was my number 4.
And I went, right? Because I said, or no.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't. Oh, my number 4 was Firepower.
Okay.
So Firepower is cool. I don't think a lot happened in this book, but you do get the whole discussion with the wife and Owen about the ex, and that husband and wife situation. Like, why didn't you just tell me type of situation. And that's what I love about this book, is the family dynamic, everything about it. Like, they got to go do their crazy kung fu stuff, and he leaves the grandparents with the dog and the kids, and they're getting ready to do some crazy fighting once again. And you get the snake creatures possessing, the all the other people, which is, that was okay for me. I like really the family dynamic of this book. That's what makes this book really for me.
For sure. And it kind of worries me a little bit that they're leaving the kids and that they're leaving the suburban life, because that's definitely the best part of that book. And when they left it last time, it went a little downhill for me. But yeah, the raw conversations, the things that could have been cliche and weren't, I really love the conversation between Owen and his wife about, you didn't break up with her. She just died. What does this mean for us? And I love that they communicated, because that's a real relationship and how a real relationship can work. But then even his daughter talking about like, oh, I feel like I'm a failure. I just like, I want to be, as good as you. I want to like protect my family too, because I have this responsibility. It was just really, it was a well done book. Even like you said, not a lot happened plot wise, but that's kind of what's cool about this book, is that I don't care about the plot as much as I care about these characters. So these are the issues I like more.
Yeah. You love the family, and you love how they're going to interact with each other. That's why you read this book, right? And I think it's cool that his wife actually goes with him on the mission, she's gonna make it a thing. She's like, I'm gonna go because your ex is here, so I'm going. So
Yeah, no, I'm excited for the three of them.
yeah,
Honestly, I think what I would love to see is the two girls just become friends. Like, I think
that
that
would
would
be
be
cool.
really cool. That would
Yeah,
be really, really cool. And I hope
absolutely.
they go that route.
I, what happens though if two things could happen here? What happens if the wife actually dies and he's
Oh
left with
man.
the ex? Or what if the ex actually does die too? How does he react towards that? I think there's going to be a casualty somewhere around here.
Oh, for sure. It's Kirkman.
Yeah.
That's what's so cool about this book is that it could go in so many different directions. And any direction could be interesting. So if you're not reading Firepower, it's legit one of the best books on stands. Probably next to like Seven Secrets, my favorite indie book out right now.
That's cool. All right. So we talked about Firepower. So we're just going to jump on to our number 3. What's your number 3, Kat?
A book you will have nothing to say about, but I love this book. Second Coming, Only Begotten Son, issue 4.
I'm going to get something to
This
drink. You talk about it though real quick.
Yeah, this is a really, really cool book. I love this book so much. It is a satirical look if Jesus came to the present day and started living with a superhero. And in this issue, we have a commentary about his disciples and his new disciples coming in. But there's a lot of heart to it too, about how to be a good person and what that means. So yeah, it's just a really fun book. If you're not reading it, go check it out. You could probably start with this volume. I do recommend the first volume as well, but the volume 2 is a good jumping on point. So good stuff.
Cool.
That's my number 3.
My number 3 is a book you won't have anything to say about, and that's Geiger. We're on issue, I don't even know. What is it? Issue 6. So Geiger really wraps up the first story arc, and you got to see a lot of things that happen. So Geiger is the glowing man. They've been telling the story of this person who, had cancer, and then he has this crazy radioactivity, and this nuclear winter happened, and he survived through all this, spent 20 years protecting his family, thinking they were alive, and they actually were dead. And by the time we get to, I guess, the climactic conclusion of this story arc, we find out that there is going to be a Geiger universe. So there's not just one character here. There's going to be a different amount of characters throughout different timelines, which I found very interesting. And we got introduced to one of those characters in this issue by the name of Junkyard Joe, when Geiger and the kids that he was protecting were escaping this facility. And the reason why they were escaping this facility was because in this new world, only the healthy live and the sick go somewhere else to die. And the brother and sister were together here, and the younger kid wound up having leukemia. And they're like, no, we're leaving. So when they were leaving this facility, we come across this new character of Junkyard Joe, which was like this Terminator type of creature. It was a really good book, really good series overall. I'm sorry about all the craziness that went around with Jeff Johns and that whole situation, but this is a well-written book, and the artwork is phenomenal by Gary Frank, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the future with this whole Geiger universe thing. And they're coming out with a I think it's like a trade, or not a trade, like an annual 78 page special type of story that's coming out in November. So
Does it have a big hiatus after this, or is it jumping in right after the annual?
You know what? That's actually a good question. I'm going to look that up real quick and see if they have any other books than that. So the annual thing is in November. So obviously we get a month off because this one just came out, right? And then let's see. The trade goes on sale November 24th. So you're going to get that. And here's just the timeline of everything that might happen, because you have all those different characters that take place. but it doesn't say when the next books are actually going to come out. It doesn't give you a date. So if I have a prediction, it looks like, yeah, actually, I'm sorry, it will be 2022 because that's the
Okay.
character. That's the Junkyard Joe character that I was talking about. So it says that
Yeah, at
right
least
there,
you
coming
have
in 2022.
you have a release date of some sort. Because that
Right.
always sucks when it's kind of like when we really liked Shadecraft, right? Like it's such a good book, but we have to
Yeah.
probably wait like 2 years for the next
Yeah.
volume.
And the thing is they don't know if Geiger is alive or dead. So supposedly he's dead because this is a story that took place years ago. And a man was telling this story about the glowing man years later on what he went through. So
Interesting.
great story. All right. So let's go on to what we got. We were on number 3.
2.
You went.
Mm-hmm. We're on
And
number 2 now because we talked about all the big books already.
We talked about that. My number 2 was Wonder Girl, which we talked about.
Mine was Firepower, which we already talked about. And I have a feeling our number 1 might be the same.
I think so. My number 1 is Dark Ages.
Mine is Dark Ages as well.
Sweet.
So there you go, guys. Pick up Dark Ages. I'm curious if Brant would have made that his number 1. Even if it wasn't this week where it was very small books, I definitely think Dark Ages would have been my number 1 no matter what.
Yeah, I agree too. It you know what? It exceeded my expectations, that book. It really did. I didn't think it was Tom Taylor, so I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna be good. But then, it does have me worried because I don't like Batman the Detective that much, and I'm not
even his Spider-Man.
Huh?
His Spider-Man, I didn't really love a lot.
Yeah, I didn't really love that run, and his X-Men Red run. I didn't really like that. So I was a little bit, skeptical about the whole thing. But then at the same time, when it's like an Elseworld story, that's when he shines. So,
Now, let me ask you a question. Are you excited for his little night thing now that he read this? He has that new DC Elseworld. I forget what it's even called, but it's like
the Batman story.
Thing. Yeah.
I'll probably check it out just because it is him, but we talked about it. I'm just so burnt out from Batman. I am so over it, I
am too, but just because it's such a different angle and because it's Tom Taylor, this gave me a little bit more like, oh, this could be good because he's been working on it for such a long time too. And that interests me.
Yeah, that's what Brant said last week. So I'll probably try it out. All right. So let's go and let's talk about books that we're discussing to get rid of. So I think Brant is finally getting rid of Teen Titans Academy. Finally.
Good for him, right?
Right. You know why he's getting rid of Teen Titans Academy? Because the new Titans book is getting ready to come out. Is it this week? I think it is. So
I think it's next week
or next week. I'm all over that. So why read Teen Titans Academy? I know that one's only 7 issues, but that's 7 issues of Teen Titans Academy that you don't have to read.
Yeah, I did not like any Teen Titans Academy. I think I dropped it with like issue 2. So getting a new Teen Titans will be nice.
Red Sonja, Brant's dropping. It's a half for me because, like I said, I thought it was okay. I just want to see where this potential of this story is going to go. Almost American, half for Brant as well. So I guess he wants to see where that goes. For me, Hellions, I'm finally dropping it. Just because I found myself lost because I haven't read a bunch of issues since when I was working during the summer. And I find myself caring less and less and less about the X-Men now.
That's for sure.
Especially these current titles that are out that have dealt with Krakoa and Hickman's run. So now I'm really only sticking to right now the main X-Men title, and Marauders, based off of my top 10 most anticipated list this week, is on the hot seat. Oof. If it does not kick off this next story, I will be dropping it. And they're going to space.
I don't blame you. If this is not good, I'm only getting it for Kitty. I'll never drop it. I did drop the main series of X-Men though. I really did not like issue 1 or 2.
Really?
Yeah, I'm dropping it. I was so
Wow.
bored. I just didn't care. If something big happens, I could always pick it up again. I don't have to read it right now.
I just feel like when it comes to Marauders, that if you have the same writer writing Marauders and X-Men, it needs to go together. And I don't think it needs to be this completely different thing. Or I don't know. And I know he could have been finishing a story arc right before he took over X-Men or whatnot. But when you have a story arc that had to deal with the Reavers for like 5 issues, that's totally unnecessary.
Well, Tevi has an interesting question. Do you believe X-Men has lost its way since Hickman's left? I think that Hickman is the same thing with James Tynion, that he left pretty quickly off Batman, so they had to find a replacement. I think now that we know Hickman is part of Substack, he probably left very quickly off the X-Men, and that's why, like, oh, Jerry was already on Marauders. Maybe that's one of their bigger books. They're like, okay, go to that X-Men book now. Go to the main X-Men book, and maybe that's why Marauders hasn't been as strong since, because he was probably like juggling a lot of balls. Maybe we'll get a new writer for Marauders, which would be interesting.
I mean, you don't know how long Hickman has had this deal in the works.
Mm-hmm.
Like how long they've been discussing this. It could be months, right? It's this something like this doesn't just happen overnight where it's just like, oh, hey, Mr. Hickman, can we have a talk tomorrow, and we want you to come to Substack. Okay, what are you doing? What are you offering me? Well, you'll have creator rights to your property. We'll give you a whole bunch of money and to do the project. But you got to hire your people and this and that. And okay, that's fine. Let's do that. It just doesn't happen in like a day. They got to come up with the whole plan, right? And so I would think that this probably took quite a while.
Yeah, and I think Marvel they were definitely we got another what are they
Super
called?
chat.
Super chat. Thank you so much. They said, if there's a Miss Marvel ongoing, should it be more like SO soft reboot? Sorry. Where we never ever mention the Cradle storyline. It's kind of ruining the supporting cast. Also, undo memory wipe. Well, we do have a new mini series, so I'm curious to see where that's going to take us. So I think that's going to be a big determinant. I think whatever is happening in that TV show, they're going to make it pretty similar to that. Let's hope the TV shows, from what we've been seeing, it looks like it's very similar to what G. Willow Wilson did. So let's hope that the comic is. And, I always say the supporting cast is just, is what makes that book. So I hope, I don't think they'll reference the Cradle storyline, because her, Zoe and Miss Marvel made up at the end of that book. So I don't see why they would. The whole parent situation, them not knowing, I don't know if they'll reboot that, but that also wasn't in the original. I don't believe that was in the original run. That happened in between all that, that they found out. I think maybe the mom knew in the original run, but the dad didn't. So I don't know if they'll change that, but
Right.
yeah, it'll be interesting.
That original one was so good, man. So good.
So good.
Yeah.
And it ended so well. It was just so perfect. And it's a shame that, Kamala is such a great character and they don't know what to do with these YA characters. Such a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame, but hopefully the show does get people excited about her. And and then when they come out with another new book, that's maybe people might get attracted to her and definitely check her out.
That's our hope. I'm glad Marvel's doing it right this time, having some books ready for when these shows come out.
Well, that's what they need to do. They need to do that. That you're just capitalizing that way, right?
And a lot of great, at least for She-Hulk, you got Rainbow on it. So I can't see that going wrong by any means. I think that's going to be one of the best She-Hulk runs ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do have a couple of questions here. Tizzy, is Superman son of Kal-El good? I'm not a Superman fan, but I'm a huge Tom Taylor fan. Well, let me tell you, Tizzy, I hate John Kent. Don't like him. Love Tom Taylor's John Kent. Love the book. I think it's great. So if that says anything, it's a good book.
Yeah, I'm not a Superman fan either. So, and I'm looking for that Superman book to really dial me in, But all right, so let's go forward with this chopping block. And again, new type JB Lee, thank you for the super chats tonight. It's been it's most generous of you to do that. So thank you. So we have Avengers is a half chop for me. I hated the last issue of it. It was so horrible. And yet I need to read it to figure out how it ends. You would hate it because
Oh, I'm
not
glad I'm not
only
reading it.
is Jennifer Walters obviously called the Winter Hulk, right? But she's red. She's got blonde hair. Okay. And she goes on this random mission to destroy Atlantis. So Namor is going to be in this
Oh
next
no.
book too.
Oh
And
no, I'm
it's so
good.
bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. I hate it. I hate it. And they have these random panels with like Echo about Thor. If you have any questions with me being about the Phoenix, you can always come to me. He's like, yeah, whatever. I mean, it just put some random stuff in there. It's such a bad book. Like, I thought that maybe this would lead back into Jennifer Walters coming back to normal somehow because we're getting that new She-Hulk book, in the future. No, it didn't do anything there. So
I think they're
it
just
was,
gonna skip all that.
yeah, it was the worst. It was like the worst book of the week for me. I was like, I can't believe I read
God.
this. So not my thing there. All right. So now we're going to the most anticipated books. So I'll start off with Green Lantern Annual. That was the book that was delayed that we talked about with
Yeah, we
Jessica
talked about it.
Cruz, right?
Still
So,
anticipating it for
yep,
sure.
looking forward to it.
Also,
Suicide
Green
Squad.
Lantern comes out too, though. So now it's the continuation of that annual. So it's issue 6, I think, is also coming out this week.
Oh, geez. So then you got to get both.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So then you got Suicide Squad 2021 Annual issue 1. This has to do with John Kent going into the super secret room of Task Force X, and he finds a whole bunch of clones of himself. That's kind of freaky, if you ask me, right?
All these
So
things are getting interesting in that book. Out of all the, again, like I actually liked Suicide Squad. It just I had too much on my pull list. I was like, it's not worth it. But like,
right.
it's actually a pretty solid book.
All right. So me and Brant are looking forward to that. Avengers Tech On is my thing. Sentai inspired Avengers. It's basically the Avengers in some armor because they have no superpowers because Red Skull took it away from them. That's pretty fun. That's pretty fun for me. Next issue is The Me You Love in the Dark. You did not like that, Kat?
I didn't read issue 1. I didn't have it on my pull list.
Something you should read.
I'll have to give it a shot.
think you might like it. It's about an artist who basically is having artist block. She can't paint. She can't do anything that she can do. So she goes and she buys this house and she thinks that maybe it can be inspiration to her. And she was told that there was like ghosts that could possibly live here. And she's like, whatever, bring it on. And every day she's like talking to these ghosts and she's just like, come on, ghost, talk to me. She's like, what can I draw here? What can I do with this? And then all of a sudden the ghost starts talking to her at the end of the issue.
Ooh.
So it's pretty good. She's this, this girl with these glasses and she drinks her wine while doing these drawings. And she has this fit and she breaks everything. And it's good, man. I think you would like it. There's not
I'll have
much.
to see if I have time to read it this week.
Yeah, there's not.
I'll try
literally, it would take you 2 minutes to read it. It's not like a long, in-depth book, and not much that happens in the issue. I basically gave you the gist of what happens. So if you find issue 1, it would take you real super quick to read it, and you could probably already read it from the second issue because you already know she bought a house and the ghost talks to her. That's basically all you really need to know.
Yeah, I think I'll try out the second issue then, and because I don't think I'm getting like a ton of books.
Yeah, it's not a huge week, so
yeah, so I could probably give it a shot. I have that, and I have to read Brant recommended Wiccan and Hulking from this week, so I have to read that too. So I'll read both of those this week.
Now there's one book out that's called Last Flight Out, issue 1. It's from Dark Horse. The only reason why I marked this is because based off of my new show, the new number 1s are coming out for the week, I found this book. And it's about the world that's ending. And the architect or the person that designed all the ships or the arcs to leave Earth, right? His daughter has gone missing on the Earth. And this is the last arc to go out. And now he has to go find his daughter before this arc leaves. So, and it's crazy because he's the inventor of these things. So, very curious to see what that book could be about if I can find it. I don't know if my shop will even carry it, but if they carry it, then I'll probably check it out. The next one is Dead Box issue 1. I found this curious that you marked this, that you found out about this one.
Again, because it was such a short week when I was looking through, I saw Mark Russell was on it, and he writes Second Coming, and I really like Second Coming, so I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. I still have not found a Vault book that I like, so I'm like, all right, maybe this one will be the Vault book that I like. So I'm giving it a shot. Also, the premise seemed interesting.
The premise is cool, man. It like knows everything about you, and it's just like this DVD machine, which I think is pretty neat. It's like going to like a store and going to Redbox and getting a Blu-ray, and then it's like talks to you, right? So I thought that would be kind of cool.
And Mark Russell is known for his commentary, his social commentary. So I'm curious what he has to say about like the entertainment industry with this type of storyline.
The Black Knight goes, I had to drop Avengers after that awful Phoenix stuff. That was so bad.
I'm sad that you lasted that long because that was a long time into Avengers.
Next we have Kazar. Is it Kazar or Kazar? How do you say that dude's name?
I think it's Kazar. I think it's Kazar. Yeah.
Lord of the Savage Land issue 1. I'm just gonna
getting it.
I'm just gonna buy it just to see what it has to offer.
Okay.
Because supposedly he died during the whole Empire event. I don't even remember him dying, and now he's coming back to life. The Katati killed him, and I guess he's going to have new powers, and he's teaming up with Shayna the She-Devil. I don't know. We'll see. I don't have high expectations for that book, though, at all.
I'm not getting that one. I know nothing about the character.
And then we have, let's see, Black Manta issue 1. So we got that going on.
I'm getting that because I'm getting Aquaman, and Aquaman's getting a lot of hype. That new one, like people are like, you must get this issue, you must get this issue, you must get it. Like every pro, I think Scott Snyder tweeted about it. They're like, oh my God, this is such a good issue. So Black Manta is most likely going to be connected because that's his dad. So I'm like, okay, I'll pick up Black Manta.
It's coming. Yeah, it's coming off the heels off of the annual. So that's where that book is coming from. All right. So then we got Batman issue 112. So of course it has to deal with Fear State, right? So I'm anticipating it because I want to see how this event picks up. That's basically why. And hopefully,
especially from the regular creative team too, because this one didn't have the same artist as the regular Batman book.
Crush and Lobo. I know I never read that first issue, so I know you guys are reading it, so you're excited about it.
Oh, so good. Recommend it if you get the trade. I think it might be a little bit too late for the single issues, but it's what Mariko Tamaki does best. It's just character driven storyline, and it's just fun. I definitely really enjoy it.
Cool. And then we all are excited about Daredevil issue 24.
I mean, so much hype.
It's getting close to the end now. It's the penultimate issue of the story arc, and I mean, I just can't wait. I mean, what can you say? You had Daredevil, Elektra in there last issue doing battle against the cloned Bullseyes. The heroes saved her from dying. Matt Murdock is like in charge of this prison now. I don't know, man. It looks like all hell is going to break loose, and we're going to get to an ending point, and then obviously a new starting point when it comes to the whole Devil's Reign story arc that comes out in the future.
Which is supposed to be huge, that arc. So very much looking forward to it.
All right. And then we have, last but not least, The Amazing Spider-Man issue 73 coming off the heels of the Sinister War. So we got that going on. The only reason why I am anticipating this one is because the fight is over between all the villains. So now are we going to finally get this freaking story on who the hell Kindred is, and are we going to see what happens to Peter after this whole fight, right?
I mean, we can only hope. I don't have anticipation because I've so far only liked one issue of all this Sinister War stuff, and that was issue 1. But if my expectations are low, maybe it will be good.
Yeah, you never know. And that is all the anticipated. So do we have any other questions there before we close out the show tonight?
I think that was pretty much it. If you see anything.
Got a couple of just comments about Terry saying, will Hawkeye show be good? We hope so.
Right?
You
That's
know?
gonna be one I watch weekly. Kate
Yeah.
Bishop's in it.
You got
So
Kate Bishop. It's coming off of Black Widow, I think, right? We're probably going to have that going on in there. How would you reboot Marvel?
Young Avengers tie-in probably because
Yeah,
there's so
probably.
much build up to that.
How would you reboot Marvel Comics? I would not reboot Marvel Comics.
Yeah, I think that's never gonna happen.
The reboots are done. Like, there's no more rebooting. It's all about story
Restructure.
Yeah, it's all about the stories now. Like, it just seems like when someone wants to write a story, they're going to write their story, and then when they're done, and then a new volume starts again, right? So
I'm cool with that. I think that's the better way for comics to last, is to do it by volume.
Yeah, absolutely. Final question. I wonder if the reason why the last issue of Ahmed's Miss Marvel run was delayed due to the backlash of nobody wanted any of Kamala's friends to betray
Cradle. I think it was because of COVID, if I remember correctly, but I guess you never know. But I don't know if that really changed any storylines, but I think that's the reason it was delayed, was because it really was in the mix of COVID.
That whole Outlaw event got messed up because of COVID. It just never gained any traction, right? It was delayed. It was supposed to take place throughout books, and they were delayed, and it just never really, honestly, it just never worked, man, you know? So very, very frustrating comes to that. I think they really did miss the boat when it comes to that and all the young heroes of that story, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So
even Empire, I think, was shortened a lot because of COVID as well. So not even just Outlaw.
How would you fix DC Comics and come up with a plan? Listen, I have one easy solution for DC Comics.
Less Batman.
Less Batman, and give us more books of the characters that we've been missing. And if you can do that and keep prices at a reasonable price, then you will get fans back. But people are eventually going to get tired of Batman. And if they're not going to get characters that they want to read, right, then what's going to happen is no one's going to buy their comic books. And that's the easiest way I can say to fix DC Comics. Just come out with more books.
And I think diverse books, and what I mean is diverse books. Yes, I do mean diversity too, but I also mean like just different characters, you know, like knowing that there's different audiences, just like a TV network would know there's different audiences. Like, you know, ABC has, you know, would have Blackish, but then we'll have, you know, another show and a drama show. So it's like, I think DC needs to cater to all different audiences, and same for Marvel. You know, it can't just be one audience. It should be, you know, all different audiences and all different types of characters. And yes, diversity is important as well, and hope we get that. But yeah, I think that be the strength to all these companies. It's just seeing different characters doing different things, and you know, having characters for the YA audience, having characters for people that are 50 years old, you know, just you know, having different stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. But reboots are not the answer. You know, if you have new number ones in certain books, that's fine, because you're either, you know, doing a new, like, for instance, like Hulk right now. Immortal Hulk's ending, and you're getting a new team on it, so you're calling it whatever it's called now. Hulk,
I kind of like that more too, honestly. Like in the old days, it'd be like, no, I want issue 300, but that's not going to sell a comic. You know, I think it actually is a little cleaner just to do it volume by volume. Now, it's not cleaner when you have like only a writer for 5 issues, right? And then you're like, okay, we got to start. And then it was never the plan. But if you have, you know, arcs and people there for a reason to tell a beginning, middle, and end, I rather the issue ones if you have a plan like that.
And I like now how, like, especially Marvel, who has come up with the solution. Like, if you're a big numbers buff and you're into the old school numbering, you got your legacy numbering on the book now. For instance, like Captain America, Amazing Spider-Man, Iron Man, like Black Widow, like they all have legacy numbering, which is cool. I like that. So then at least then you have an idea how many total issues there are, right? So you get both the best of both worlds in that aspect.
For sure. And thank you guys for such amazing questions. We had such a wonderful time talking to you guys. It was so much fun digging into all this stuff, especially for, a smaller week for us. So it was really
Yeah.
cool just to kind of pick brains about comics
Yeah, and
in
that's what we
general.
love. I mean, we love it. Talking about comics, answering questions about comics. For us, like we said, it's always about the stories first. And we would not be comic fans if it wasn't for these stories, right? And it's great to discuss and have fun with these conversations, and you guys picking our brains and we're picking your brains, and it's awesome. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the show tonight. So Kat, do you want to wrap up anything before we leave?
Yeah, just like I said, go check out Buy Visibility. I'll share the link one more time. I'm super happy of how well it's doing, and love to see those numbers go up even more as we head into the end of the campaign, September 30th. Also, if you want to read books for free, we have the webtoon Slice of Life, which is really gearing up to some really cool stories. So it's literally free. Go check it out. It's about an anime character who comes to life and falls in love with a cheerleader, and we're having so much fun with that. And then obviously, Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week will be tomorrow as well. So look forward to that.
Yes, and of course, guys, just go on to my channel, Comic Book Corner 2.0. Always appreciate the support there, guys. Check out top 10 comic book covers of the week that drops on Mondays. Tuesdays is top 10 most anticipated comic books for next week. Wednesday, which is tomorrow, is the Spider Slayers comic book haul, where I show you all the comics I picked up at the comic book shop. And then Thursday is going to be after the poll, where I talk about some of those books I picked up. And then Friday is the brand new series that I started next week, which is must read new number ones for the following week. And then, of course, we do the dollar bin diving on Saturdays. And then we'll see if I throw up a video on Sunday. It just depends how I feel that day. That could be the day off, right? So, guys, thank you so much for watching. We had a great show. And hopefully Brant will be back next week. And hopefully you will be too. So until next time, guys, this is Cat Comic Uno. This is Comic Book Corner 2.0. Mike Spider Slayer signing off. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.